Good evening.
Hi, Matt.
Thanks for the opportunity to speak again this year. We're off to a fast start. It's hard to believe it's already the middle of November, so I know it's that way for everyone. We appreciate, for both facilities, all the strong support we continue to have from the board. That make things go very smooth. So we thank you. I would also like to thank the high school and the junior high. We work with Dr. Pritchett, Mrs. Fulton, Mr. Smith, Dr. Herman, Mr. Storms. The three of us are almost daily communicating with them. We share teachers, we share programs, and it just makes things go really smooth when we can work so well. So appreciate all the things that we're able to do with them. You should have three reference if you would look. The first page, page 1, is the placemat we'll talk about in just a bit. The second page is the results from last year's school improvement plan. We'll just touch on briefly to show how we summarize there. And then page 3 of the reference is our school improvement plan for 16-17. So basically what we do when we get started is similar to the other buildings. Our school improvement plan starts in the spring of 16. We review the page 2 is what we review with our building leadership team. Now, not all of those indicators are known at that time, but what we can decide in April and May, we put in that document there and we share with them. A lot of those things may come in over the summer, but our building leadership team is made up of the team leaders of our 7 professional learning communities. And those are comprised of all the certified staff in the buildings. And we meet monthly with them. In fact, we had a board member join us one of the meetings. We appreciated that. And that was our building leadership team. We meet once a month. Then from there, what we do from that, when they go out and meet with their individual teams, a lot of that information can be disseminated down. And we'll talk about some of that, and that's how a lot of that goes through. And that's worked out really well for professional development as well as developing this school improvement plan. So from there, we also take our spring administrator surveys, which we do those in the spring, April, early May, and those results are then shared with the building leadership team, which is disseminated down to all of our professional learning communities. This year we tied this in. You'll see in goal 3 for this year how that ties in with our school improvement plan for this year. So then it picks back up when we get back to school. The back to school meetings start up, and we'll start meeting with our building leadership team, and we start on this year's school improvement plan. And so page 2 and 3 should kind of show how we've made those changes to kind of address that. Okay, does anybody have any questions about anything before we start? All right, if you would look on page 2, that's what we'll be talking about, and I won't spend a lot of time, but on page 2 of your handout, I've got them on the screen as well, but without reading through all of those, if you notice goal number 1, I would like to show a couple on there. The green indicates if we met it or not, and we did have a not met on here, which I'll touch on, but on 2.2, last year we set a strategy for developing any new programs. We did the needs assessment, and from there we went through the application process, had the Department of Elementary and Secondary Ed come down, the state supervisor for Family and Consumer Science visited the facilities, and from there we got approved to start a new program, Early Childhood Careers. So you'll see in our next year plan how we're going to take that on to the next step of implementing. The other one I will touch on is the not met. That was a very lofty goal. We thought we would increase our Career and Tech Ed student organization, HOSA, membership by 20% through the Biomed program, and we didn't. I think we grew at 5% instead of 20, but 20 is a lot. So. But we've addressed that in next year's as well. If you look at goal, yes.
Can I ask you about
Yes,
that? Your increase in students is pretty big, almost 5%.
On
Top one, 1.1.
Oh, yeah, we were very pleased with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we took the 4-year average and looked at last year. So
What do you attribute that big increase to?
well, we had a lot of that was through the Project Lead the Way. We had the Gateway to Technology, and that program had grew quite a bit.
Okay.
And then we had a really good year with adding our culinary, and our health science stays strong. But we had a good year.
That's great.
Overall. Yeah, and the project lead, the engineering has seen steady growth, so that we've been able to offer the electives like the aerospace and the digital and civil engineering.
Very good.
On goal 2, would touch on 1.1 there. Last year we said we'd like to increase the embedded credit offering by 2%. We met that because we added our was supermarket careers. We've updated that name to call it service careers, so it's not just supermarket. It's having a hard time sticking. Everybody still sees it as supermarket.
It'll take a little while.
And then we also added the culinary arts program to that. And I think we've really looked at that one a lot to increase rigor of academics this year, and so in our new plan you'll see that. On 2.1, we had that goal as well. We looked at the information this year and we made it more specific, I think, in this year's plan. So we'll talk about that in the 16-17 plan. And then on goal 3, the 2.1, we had a goal to increase not just instructional technology but industry technology, and that is similar to what Dr. Pritchett was talking about there. We try to look at not just iPads, not just laptops. We were looking at the welders, even the hospital beds that we got last year on the grant. It's amazing the technology in them, you know. So we were looking at all the industry technology to try to stay current there. Any questions with last year's, just kind of as a summary?
Oh, very good.
We like that.
Very good. I like that.
The next part is the placemat, which is page 1. And page 1, basically that is the RTI and RTC strategies that go through to help meet the 5 goals of the district CSIP. And just going through quickly on those, you can see those, but on the parent and community involvement on the first one, the increase career and tech ed or career and tech student organizations, that's your FFA, Skills USA, HOSA, DECA, TSA, all of those organizations. We want to increase those, and we'll talk about that in this year's plan. On the second one, implementing high-quality CTE, we've done that in our goals. DESE came out last year with a model.
CTE would stand for?
Tech Ed, sorry. Yep. No longer Voc Ed, but Career and Tech Ed, the high-quality Career and Tech Ed, technical education, professional development. They have a model that has 6 criteria that have good indicators now that we're able to shoot for. Instructional resources, we are looking to expand participation in work-based activities. There's a new program out now that we're looking at. And in fact, last week we had a meeting with the Department of Labor as well as Department of Education came down and presented to our trades building our professional learning community about apprenticeships. And there's a new push on those, and we're trying to stay up with that. It's really interesting, aligning standards and getting away from traditional apprenticeships, which was just been union-based, to expanding it to all careers. So we're looking at that. Under student performance, the increasing academic rigor, you'll see that in our goal 2 for next year through embedded credit. And on the governance, we'll show you here shortly the different program accreditations so that you can kind of get an idea of each individual program. Goes through a lot of program and accreditation as well as institution-wise. So next, is there any questions before we go into this year's?
Nope. Looking
All right,
good.
Mr. McCarthy's going to start us off with goal number 1 of the 16-17.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Keith.
We spoke about recruitment, and that is goal number 1. We're looking at recruitment also. How do we work on recruitment? We made it a goal last year to seriously attack recruitment. We do it all the time. When I came to this school, Mr. Duncan told me every student that comes to RTI, RTC chooses to come here. They have a choice. They have other places they can go. They can stay at their sending school. They don't have to come to our adult programs. You have a lot of competition. We take that responsibility very, very seriously, and we groom and we work with these people all the time. This week alone, we met with every single senior. By Friday, we'll have met with every single senior that walks our hallways, whether they're from Rolla or the sending schools. And we're having conversations with these seniors about where they're going next year. May is going to come extremely quickly, and you'd be surprised how many don't know exactly where they're going to go. You have some that are already in a college and they've already got things set up and everything's good to go, but you have some that need some direction. We try to talk to them about the military, about tech schools, about 2-year colleges, about 4-year colleges. But while we're doing this, we also set them up with the very first step of financial aid, federal financial aid. Everybody that's ever got a student loan or got a student grant had to get their FAFSA. Everybody did. The very first step now is you have to get an ID, your federal student aid ID. We set those kids up in a 20-minute session, 30-minute session. By the end of this week, we'll have already set them up with that. So we don't care where they go. This is a great step, and we give them the piece of paper that helps them set their parent up. That's something we do. It is early November, and my office constantly has people coming in. Constantly has people coming in. We have Health Science Academy. We have a junior class and a senior class. The idea of that is to get kids interested in health sciences and then show them where we are, and hopefully a couple of them will come in. We increased our numbers from the Health Science Academy that are now in our adult programs by a large percent. We increased our recruitment, and we recruited more people than we did in the last year, sometimes coming close to doubling it. We only can take 32 in nursing. We had about 72 applications. Rad Tech can only take 15. They had 36 applications. If you really hit the recruitment hard, and then you are very serious about your selection process with the pre-entrance test, then when you get to the schooling, we get better retainment. We never want to get somebody in our school that can't pass, and we're very, very serious and sit them down and have conversations about that. So that's what we do for recruitment. We hit college fairs, we hit high school college fairs, we hit in health science classes. They have them in other schools too. So this year we went to other schools, high schools, and went to their health science academies and talked to them. Mr. Duncan is in constant contact with other tech schools, seeing what they're doing, what programs they have, which programs make, which programs don't make. So recruitment is something we do every day, because recruitment leads to selection, which leads to retainment, and that's our ultimate goal. And we just really hit it hard. Last year, we presented early childhood career program. This year, at the beginning of next year, we plan on implementing it. We plan on having the students in there. We've talked to our counselors from sending schools. We've talked to our counselors here. They're building the buzz for us, and our counselors are telling us people are signing up for it. So I think it's really going to happen, and it really needs to happen. And I think you hear it throughout everywhere. We need to address the early childhood education globally, I guess. Evaluation for high-quality technical education programming. So career and technical education programming. This DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, has standards. If you want to call yourself a high-quality tech school, then you need to reach these standards. We've been working for the last 2 years to address these standards, align what we're doing, and see if it matches those standards. And we're working from that point on. And we're showing up pretty well. Mr. Duncan will talk in a few minutes. I've been in K-12 for a long time. This tech ed, adult tech ed and high school tech ed, there's a ton of scrutiny that he'll talk about. And there's a lot of people looking over our shoulders and making sure we're doing things right. And we are. We're also looking at, again, we do have student organizations. When I came here, I was very familiar with the FFA. Well, the AG has FFA. It's something the students can do after night. I was a high school principal for a long time. But all of our technical career plans have a student organization. Those student organizations, I was with HOSA, which is our health organization, student organization, earlier this week, Monday. We all met in Springfield, and it gives students leadership abilities. It gives them that networking that you and I had to learn on our own. It gives you all the things that we know by dealing with our professional organizations, and they're learning it as a 17 and 18-year-old. I would have really appreciated that education earlier on in my career. And that's what we're doing. We're looking to increase our adults in student organizations by 5%, and we think we can do that. Our nursing program is looking at HOSA right now. that's where we are. We're big into recruitment because that's the basis of everything we want to do, and we're very good. We definitely want to be the best. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Any questions?
I do
I'm
have,
afraid of that. Go ahead, John.
no, you can answer this one. So you made a comment that our people out in the audience may not understand
Yes,
about a
sir.
program making, whether or not a program would make, and so I think you need to.
Very good, very good. We are a freestanding organization, so we have to have a certain number of students. And it's a good thing also, because if you have a program, let's say somebody's running a program and their numbers keep dwindling, that tells you that there's something wrong with the program. And usually organizations give you time to fix that. And in the tech world, you're constantly changing programs. If our program, early childhood, does not make, that means we do not have enough students to let it fly this year. And that would be a problem, but there's lots of times in the past I've worked on bond issues and they haven't passed. We went back, we did a better bond issue, and then that passed. So we hope that it'll work. We think we have a great plan, but if it doesn't, it tells us, hey, there's something that you need to do a little better to get that thing flying. So
What's the target for early childhood education program? How many students?
24 high school students, and then there'll be 12 adult students also. ECC is going to supply the 12 adult students. And that's about right for us. We looked at our facilities and we're
And that's
looking-
from all the sending schools in
It's-
addition to Rolla?
It's going to be first come, first serve. If the sending schools fill it up first and then Rolla fills it up, hopefully we have another selection process where we have 80 students and we get to pick the very,
Right.
very top most dedicated students for that area. So,
Very good. Thank you.
Yeah,
thank you.
Just to kind of add on to that high-quality model ties
Mhm.
into those programs, so that as we develop programs, numbers aren't the only thing we're looking at, it's also their placement,
Quality,
their,
yep.
their credentials, their end-of-course exams or their TSAs, the budget on the program, so that we're not just looking at one area. But, yep. I did want to touch back on, we talked about under governance before the accreditations, so just quickly, and I don't have that in your handout, but on the screen, these are a few of the different accreditations that each program or the institution goes through. And some of those you may recognize, seen in industry or when you go to the dealership to have your car worked on. I mean, a lot of these are pretty common credentials. If you've been at the hospital and waited in the waiting room, you see those symbols a lot with those. So each of our programs go through these in addition to the first one that I showed. That the one at the top here on COE is the big one that we now are under for federal aid for Title IV.
That's significant.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, this particular program lends itself well to this discussion about data and accreditation, and they're much more, we thought this would be powerful for you to see, or
Yeah,
anybody
it
to
is.
see, because intermittently, we give you information about who's here in our district, in this building, or both buildings, evaluating the programs and then accrediting them. And I thought, well, it'd be good to see them collectively. It's a lot of work our staff has to go through, and these guys go through to help pull all that together.
But those are the accreditation the employers look for, right? They look for students that have graduated from accredited
You bet.
programs.
Yeah, that's what separates us from a lot of other schools.
Right.
And that's a stamp of quality because they know what they went through. The joint review that we went through for the radiologic tech was just 2 weeks ago. And they were down for 3 days, and I mean, they go through everything from all the standards,
Right.
budget all the way through placement, and they go to the clinic sites, they interview the sites to see how we're doing and what place we do in the community, so. Yep.
What work? They need to work on their logo.
On goal 2, basically on goal 2, that outlines our student performance. Placement is a big thing. That ties into our federal for us as well as for all of our high schools, including Rolla, and their career readiness. So the things that we're highlighting there, this is for this year. On 1.1, we changed the embedded credit. I think This was a lot of work through our student services, and it took a lot to make it into one sentence because it really started out really long. But we really liked it when we got done. Basically now we're going to say 80% of the students earning embedded credit will earn a grade of B or higher. So we're trying to put a higher quality out there for them. On the next one, on 2.2, that we were pleased with that. That's a pretty tough goal, but we did drill down on the adult programs to hold them to a pretty high standard there, to where 80% of our adult programs, which we have 17 adult certified programs with the Department of Education right now. We're going to say 80% of them will meet or exceed that target on completion, placement, and licensure. So we also have been working on our 3-year plan for that, because we're anticipating after June 13th we would be open for an unannounced visit. So keeping up with that is a big part of what we do in our professional development. And on 2.3, expanding work-based activities, that's an offering that DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, made available last year, so that the career and technical ed centers, such as us, could expand a program, and that allows for 2 additional points on APR for Rolla as well as all the sending schools. And we got that last year by expanding our heating and air program to an industry recognized credential at the end. This year we are expanding culinary arts, the internship component, which we've applied with DESE, so hopefully they will approve that, so that offering would be out there again as well. Any questions on goal 2?
I have a question.
Yes,
On 2.3, by expanding, how do you mean by expanding?
On 2.3, expanding work-based activities, there's 2 ways that DESE has allowed a program to expand. They would like to see the program have an internship possible, so that in culinary arts, our teacher has worked with the area food industries to allow our students to be able to go out and do work-based activities with them as part of the program. Or you can add an industry-recognized credential at the end of the program. For example, in heating and air, the test that they have to pass at the end was actually approved from DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, as an industry-recognized credential.
All right, thank you.
Some of them are very easy IRCs, like your CNAs, Certified Nurses Assistant, and EMT. They're pretty highly recognized, but some of the others are a little more detailed. Good question.
Thank you.
Yep.
Last up, we got goal 3. Super excited. Anyways, get up here. I've been waiting to hit you. Goal 3 has to do with several things that I'm very passionate about. Technology, we're a career tech ed center, so our technology needs to be pretty big. And as Dr. Pritchett, I'm so glad he says that, and Mr. Duncan, our technology is not always laptops. It is a lot of times. It may be Macs inside our programs or different things, but our technology is all different stuff. And last year I showed with you it was different types of things in our masonry program and such, and different mixers this year coming in. Industrial instructional practices, we've really worked, and part of my own goal and with our schools here, we've looked at some different things to collaborate together, to come together with simple things like classroom management strategies, and sometimes we do forget when we bring these people out of the field and into the teaching areas. So we've really looked at that also. And then facility enhancements. We're always looking to enhance our facility. Everybody wants new and greater things, and we try to take all 3 of those things and look at something, and the last word in goal 3 is safety. Our advisory committee that advises our institutional advisory committee that the 3 of us are on, they have come to us and said safety is a huge thing. And on job sites and different things, people are getting contracts on how safe they are. There's a safety numbers to what they are when they bid on contracts and do those things. So our students, no matter what they do, they need to be safe. And we've embedded a lot of that stuff in what we've done in the last couple of years. So on number 1, those are strategies. So strategy 1 is we look for something, and what can we do to make an improvement? And to drill that down, we looked at, we want to do one substantial improvement to increase safety and other things, or technology or instructional practices in our buildings every year. I'm pleased to say this year we're working on some really big ones. We're completing a steel storage facility behind RTI. If you haven't seen that, we've looked at that years ago about steel coming off the wall and how we stored it. Several years ago we got a new forklift, and so this new steel storage is going to be where the forklift can get in it and those things. We've done more parking lot with building and grounds and different things. And what's really cool about that is we build those ourselves. So that facility was built by our students, and they'll be able to see that a long time. Classroom and wood manufacturing. Mr. Studdard, wood manufacturing is a very popular program. Showed some pictures earlier today of that, some things they're doing. If you come up there and see, our classrooms change. It used to be in the middle, we had shops on both sides, a more commercial shop and a more traditional wood shop. We've took that out, and the classroom's on one side now, and so the whole classroom can be seen from the lab can be seen from any area in there, and that's pretty neat. We're also doing some really cool things on the floor in there with some stain and trying some different things out. And we're going to have an accent wall like a lot of people are wanting in their houses and stuff. We have the ability to do that with wood manufacturing, so we're going to put an accent wall in there and kind of show off some of our talents. So that's a substantial improvement. And then the one also I'd like to talk about, a very safety thing, is I tasked myself and some other people helped task me with making it a little safer outside of RTI. And one thing we did with collaboration with Mr. Henshaw and transportation and the maintenance department and myself this summer, we looked at how we were going to move our buses outside of our building. We looked at a lot of other buildings and stuff, and we had some problem areas. We've changed that, and we've become a lot safer out front of RTI with bringing students in and out of our building. On the bottom there, the second strategy, 2.1, it talks about administrative surveys. We take that pretty serious. We talk to other buildings, and we may do it different than some, but we break those down. The three of us meet with ours after they're given out to all the staff in our building, certified and classified. We three meet with ours, we talk about them, and then we give those to our building leadership team, raw, they see it, and then they take that down, and so every person that works for us in RTI and C gets to see all three of ours. And I think it brings a lot of realness and show that we really look at those and we take a lot of pride, and if it looks good, and if it doesn't, we find things we need to work on all the time. And the one thing that the three of us sat down and looked at that we could work on, and we thought that was not bad. It was a good number, but we did have room for growth in all three of us, was the collaboration with staff. And so we've hit that a few ways already this year, and we're continuing to expand that. One was November 11th, just last week. We went ahead and we did CPR and basic aid training, all of our staff. And what's really cool is we have staff in this building that can train our whole staff in both buildings. And our staff has students on job sites or in labs in different areas, and to have CPR and first aid training is a big thing. Plus it gives us a lot of time for us to take it also and collaborate with our folks and do that. We've also done it with students. Hopefully you've got to see some of the cool videos that Jenny's put together about how our students have collaborated through health science and intro to service careers in health science and culinary arts and some of those things that we feel really strong about, and terribly excited that our students and teachers are collaborating there. And then again, all those accreditations you saw, those accreditations don't happen with just one person. There's a tremendous amount of collaboration and a lot of hours that our staff puts together to make those things work. And I think we're doing an awesome job this year and better than we have in the past. And then, of course, it starts here, and we really believe that our faculty and staff needs a CS meeting. So the three of us meet. We've took that on, and we meet, and we make sure people know we're meeting, and that we discuss stuff weekly, so we're on the same page with two different buildings. And Mr. Duncan traveling back and forth, it gets difficult. So. Any questions?
Very good.
Good.
Great.
Good stuff.
Good job.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.